We've officially hit the dog days of summer. It is super hot. We're having record hot weather on the mountain, 85 outside, 105 inside the greenhouse dome. I thought it would be time for an update about how things are doing inside the dome. It's hard to believe it's only been a month since planting these into the raised beds, but look at how big the beet greens are. They're just amazing. I've never been able to grow beets quite like this. And even besides the greens, the beets are 1.5 inches wide at the base as well. And that's only 1 month of growth. They were tiny seedlings like this when I planted them. And today I had to do a little bit of pruning on the cucumber patches and the squashes because I was getting some powdery mildew, as you can see. So that's no bueno. That's not good. When we do have a fan right above, but there was so much leaf cover that the humidity from the soil beds was really starting to collect among the leaf canopy. So I had to really thin it out. But we definitely have some cucumbers there. Definitely a lot of cucumbers coming, and winter squash as well. I kind of stretched things out because we don't have our trellis up yet, and that's going to help with airflow as well. But you can see winter squash. A lot of peppers coming, a lot of tomatoes coming. We've already picked a lot of tomatoes, so that's been fun. Some more peppers. And our first sunflower in the dome. Really, really fun. And obviously with planting, there's a learning curve for us for gardening, that's for sure. I've only done a little bit of outdoor gardening, not a greenhouse expert at all, so I'm definitely taking in all these new tools that are available, including this new one from Cactoily. Kind of intrigued. It's a 8-in-1 soil tester. It measures, with a touch of a button, it can measure and send to an app 8 different parameters in your soil, including pH, salinity, humidity, light sensor, as well as a couple others. So right now I've got it next to the kale I just planted in the center raised bed. I think what's cool about the soil tester is that you can move it around, right? So I could, if I wanted to plant something like a blueberry bush and keep an eye on the pH, make sure it's low enough. You know, I could move this around from bed to bed, wherever I want. So I could definitely see a lot of applications for this. Definitely appreciate Cactoily for sending us the soil tester, just so we can kind of play with it and get the hang of it and know that there's just more tools out there. And everything comes with an app these days, so it makes it really easy to use, have the data right at your fingertips. But yeah, as I get more experience with gardening, I think I'm going to understand how important pH and salinity and electrical conductivity are. So if you're kind of new like me into gardening and you want to take it to the next level and you want to have some other ways to monitor some key parameters, I'll have a link in the video description. You can check it out. And if you're wondering about some of these measurements like I am, they have a lot of useful information on their website. So you can go to cactoily.com products to look up the soil tester, look up electrical conductivity, look up salinity, and see what their recommendations are if you're wanting to find the right parameters for the data points that you're getting through the app. And I'll admit I'm a little bit of a data geek. I like to run experiments. I like to get data from those experiments. So it's fun to have anything that can quantify data for me. And so it'll be fun to see how plants perform and how they grow in different conditions and how I can modify those conditions and have a way to keep track of everything. You can use the app to save your data, look back at your data points, and compare things over time. But summer veggies aren't the only thing we have. This is how I did the center bed. So starting to plant some of my fall and winter greens. I've got kale and asparagus and another cucumber plant there. But this is where I decided to put citrus trees. So this is a Meyer lemon tree. And I moved my hanging basket down here because the hummingbirds have been after it. So I feel like I had to have it within reach because I have to keep putting it towards the door to get the hummingbirds out. We've got the mandarin orange, the mandarin citrus, which came with a little citrus on it, so we'll see how that ripens over the winter time. A nice little garden decoration in the middle, using what we've got for decoration, including driftwood and logs. But a big addition, this really makes it feel tropical, is the addition of this sago palm. We went through a little bit of adventure this morning trying to get this guy. A friend donated it to the dome because it was getting a little bit too big for her house. So we had a little trip to get this guy set up. What are we going to get today? Well, getting a little something special, something very not Colorado, something very tropical. Okay, here we are trying to pick up our tree. Oh, I see it, I think. What do you think?
I think it's particle board and it's going to snap.
Oh, you want a longer board?
Okay.
All right. Okay, add this in. Yeah. I feel like it's a little more secure.
Yeah.
But I think it's absolutely perfect in here. It looks like it's at home, full sun, hot weather. I think it's a native of California, or at least that's where it came from. And I believe she told us that it was 40 years old, this tree. So I don't think it's technically a tree, or it's not technically a palm tree. I think it's called a cycad, the type of plant that it is. But it is, I think it's gonna love its new home. So that definitely is another incentive to make sure that we keep our temperatures from freezing over the winter time inside of here. But yeah, definitely feels like a tropical oasis now. But we have had a lot of issues with hot inside the greenhouse because we don't really have a lot of shade. And this is really not giving us a ton of shade right here with the tree. We're hitting our peak of warm weather, and it really took a toll on the pond. The pond itself was struggling a little bit with algae growth, but I added some different things to help with that. But what I was noticing more that was a problem was the plants were starting to turn yellow. I didn't know if it was pH. I checked that, but that's within range. The pH, the pond is filled from our well water, and our well water is 7.5. And eventually, with the plant's respiration and metabolism, the water tends to run towards 8.1, 8.2, but it doesn't really get any higher than that. But I think that the real reason that the plants were turning yellow wasn't because of the pH. It wasn't because the fish were eating them. It was because the sun was sort of cooking them because they didn't have any shade. So this weekend, Brian and I had to go through one more thing we didn't really want to do, at least I didn't want to do, and that was to put a shade over the pond in the form of a tarp. I mean, eventually we're going to have a deck over there, but that's not happening in the next month or so. So we just needed to take faster action on that. I thought a tarp, Brian designed a couple of wooden brackets, and we were managed to hang the tarp yesterday, but I think it's going to make a really big difference. Not the most attractive thing, but it's going to do the job to get that right now, this afternoon sun from beating down on the pond. There's just a little bit of an area where it's still coming in. But if you go around to the back side, you can see that it's only about a tenth of the pond is getting sun now, whereas it used to be almost 70% of the pond getting sun. So hi fishes, the duckweed was very pale, and a lot of the plants were turning yellow. Like look at this frog bit. And this water lettuce back here, yellow and brown and spotted. I think that's a little bit of sun damage. And you can compare it to the plants that I just got last weekend, which are pretty green. So hopefully the shade does the trick. That's fingers crossed that we can keep our pond plants, because we want them to multiply. I got a lot of the pond plants for free, and I hate to see them go to waste. And they're an integral part of the pond. Things definitely are looking pretty lush in here. For the most part, plants are doing really well, and the pond hopefully is going to recover in this next month. I wish I kind of went with this idea a few weeks ago, but sometimes it takes a person to get to the brink of failure before they decide to actually pull the trigger on the most logical solution. After I've tried everything else, I tried putting a pond clarifier in there to help with the algae. I added beneficial bacteria to help with the algae. Nothing was helping with the plant yellowing, and I knew that was definitely a sun issue. So couldn't wait any longer to pull the trigger on that. So anyway, for the next few months, we'll have a tarp. Then hopefully it won't be quite so hot in here, and maybe at that point we'll be looking at a deck next. But I can definitely tell by sitting in the corner here where there's some shade how much more comfortable it is in the shade in the greenhouse compared to being under the direct sun. All in all, it's definitely coming along in here, and it's going to be a super fun place to hang out in the fall or on chilly days, or you just need that break from the snow. Probably going to end up putting a lot more plants in the middle garden bed here. It's not just going to be a place for trees, but since the trees are so short, I thought they looked cute raised up like this. Because I think I'm going to do a lot more fall planting once the temperatures cool down a little bit for lettuces and things like that. I'll probably start in the end here. Maybe some flowers. This is a vine that needs a trellis, but this is not a permanent solution. This is just a temporary situation here. It's definitely been fun doing the decorating part, to actually be at this part, bringing in natural elements like stones with crystals. Brian mined these in Missouri. And our fig tree, because we're counting on our fig tree for shade, but it might be a few years, so we'll see. So that's a quick update, folks, from the Dome. If you like the Dome content, I've got a whole nother channel called Planting Joy. I'll put a link to that at the end if you want to check it out. All kinds of garden experiments, garden decorating, everything Dome related on that channel. So definitely check it out. If you haven't already, you might like what you see there. So quick update, folks, but we'll catch you next time. Take care.